And so that may severely impact you, have you do more remediation before you do your actual content depth of information. So just be thinking about that. Generation Z, okay, the numbers are 82% are high school graduates. It's incredible as their instructional reading level and behavior and maturity and testing levels, if you will, on any standardized tests are at all-time lows. Yes, ma'am.
I mean, I have some qualms about the recent decision by CSU as well, but in fact, the placement exams have been shown time and again not to be accurate placement indicators, which is why our college has gone to multiple majors last year. We're doing it very differently. If those students come to us, we're well prepared, and we will get them to the transfer level quickly. And I think that the placement exam is not a good factor to look at when you're looking at what you're talking about here.
No, I totally agree that there are some factors in the placement exams, but the fact that they're dropping completely without having a secondary plan at all may impact you folks a lot more, which is the point I'm trying to make here at this level. So you may have to turn around a lot more students from the remediation, right, into the regular matriculation. And having pumped a lot of high school seniors, which is what I teach, into the universities, I can tell you that a lot of my students wind up going to BC because they just couldn't get past the entrance exams, or the placement exams, actually. So BC was impacted by a lot of students from a lot of high schools. There's 18 comprehensives in Bakersfield. So that's real. It's going to affect you, which means Gen Z now is going to be a little, you know.
We would welcome that. We're ready prepared to handle them.
You are proactive and you are ready.
We are ready.
I like that. I like that. May I quote you on that?
You may.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Especially because of BC students.
Does this,
Yes, sir.
would this mean that there's plenty of freshmen going into a four-year institution are going to fail in their first year? Are they going to have to drop or and then fall down? Sorry.
Well, speculatively speaking, in the stretch classes, that's what they're hoping to avoid. So rather than take a 10-week, 1 hour a day kind of class, maybe an hour and a half a day, so the remediation may be built into the stretch class, as opposed to having a specific class before you matriculate into your other gen ed. So we're not sure. I don't know. I have to wait and see. It's still reading about this. It's still new, recently decided. So how do we handle those changes? That just tells you right there about the difference. Cal State is hoping that they're going to increase graduation rate from 19 to 40% by 2025. That's their hope by changing this up. Okay? So what's your competition, ladies and gentlemen, as educators? Well, there's competition. In fact, here I am teaching last year, and one of my students decides, I'm going to compete with him. At least I got a lot of likes on that one, okay? So they thought that I looked like the car on the... So I'm a viral sensation one way or another in terms of the way I dress or the way I teach. And one of my students said, hey, is that Ernie Zarra? And all over class, that period, they're focusing and paying attention to me greatly. Now I know why. Not for the reasons I wanted, yeah, no, not at all. Are you being competed with here? Why should they pay attention to you when everything like this is in their sphere as the little monarch, if you will, controlling all this? And how many of you, like I, have seen yourself on a social media page and were kind of surprised by that? Or have you even had to nerve to check? But I can tell you, there's Rate My Professor, and there's all kinds of stuff out there that you may not want to watch and look at because it's kind of depressing after a while. The stars mean something, don't they? The little thumbs up means something. The colors mean something. So we're sucked into the world that they're living in, which is more real than our world, but the impact upon us is really significant emotionally. It does hurt. when people don't like us. Am I right? It does. But in any case, there's a lot of those popular Gen Z apps that are going to come to your classes here on their phones, and maybe they're on their phone on one of those while you're teaching. And maybe they're so engaged in what you're talking about that they're sending their friends texts about, you ought to hear this professor talk. They know their stuff. Maybe. So how do we understand students that are trained in Common Core? Let me just flip through here. Graduation rates. Schools now are evaluated not on their academic content or their assessments anymore. They're evaluated on criteria like high school graduation, how many referrals and detentions have been, right, the lowering of those. How many expulsions have you lowered? How much restorative justice have you practiced to keep kids in school without getting rid of them on a daily basis? That's how schools now are being, like, I will say 75% evaluated. It used to be the API, your APY, your assessments, you compare, did you target the groups that were underserved? Did you make sure you bump those up? You get more on your API when you bump the lower groups up higher than the high groups higher. And so you had that whole formulaic thing working. But now that's been thrown out under CLB, poof, poof, race to the top, poof, Common Core's here and it's not here. And now we're ESSA, Every Student Succeeds Act, that's here. So states have more local control, so where's it going? All that said, the students are coming through all that, and they're coming to you. Monday. That's basically what I just stated. So therefore, you can read about those two things in the two books there that I posted. I figured if I'm going to talk about Common Core, and I thought it was the wrong direction for American schools, but I might want to suggest something that will replace it, which is what I wrote that book for. So that's my perspective on it. I would appreciate comments if you ever decide to read those. So before we hit the last topic, which is much shorter, questions or comments? Yes, ma'am.
Just a comment, at the same time as Common Core, we also had a reduction in music and
Yes.
art.
Oh, yes.
So I think there's a
Yes.
sort of double whammy effect there.
So we focused on STEM, science, tech, engineering, and mathematics. And then somebody said, hey, but wait. So we made it STEAM. We added art, and arts in there. So now we have STEM and STEAM, and now we have CTE, and we have all the hard, science and math stuff. But then the music and the drama and the arts and the singing in the choir, wow, one side of our whole developmental brain, if you will, is not really being reached anymore. And PE, right? Physical activity. Yes, sir.
You talk about some of the entitlements that students have as if it's a bad thing. I just kind of want to talk about the flip side of it. That as educators, we should know when students have special needs,
Yep.
and we should make an effort
Correct.
to meet those needs so that they can be more successful.
Correct.
So how would you recommend striking a balance between taking that too far because we're maybe coddling students
Right. Good
versus
question.
where we're serving them as best that we can?
Great question. I recommend that we don't keep them for life from 3rd grade to 12th grade on that 504 IEP program. Phase them out of it so that by the time they need to go to college, they're ready to break free of the entitlement. What we're doing is we're keeping them all the way through 12th grade, and we're doing them and you a disservice by saying, now that your entitlement stuff, okay, you're not entitled to see the program they came out of in high school. They're phased out of it. Now they're yours. But the expectations that they have not been adjusted, so when you get to your level, they want to know why they can't get the same thing for them there. So now you have to contend for your reasons why you don't give them the same thing, while they expect the same thing. So I have been lobbying for this for about 5 years. Start reducing, redoing, and sort of like contracting back all the expectations of entitlement. So that by the time they get out of high school, they're like, I don't need it anymore. Because they seem to think that, a lot of them do, that they need that modification and accommodation. That's why I say they're coming to you with that mindset. Now, not all of them, sure. Of course I'm generalizing. But that generationally is what we've raised in public education today. Yes, ma'am.
What about the dual enrollment that's going on, and high school students basically taking college classes at the high school level, already having to make that transition to expectations at the college level. How is that affecting the incoming students?
Another great question. A lot of our students are doing dual enrollment to avoid having to take the AP test at the end of the class. Because with dual enrollment, college credit is given without having to take the AP test. So if I get college credit by taking a class, rather than college credit by taking a class and then taking a test, I'll take the class. So now, this year, just to answer your question, the first part and the second part, I'll get to that specifically. This year alone, our results came back that we had 9 U.S. history AP tests that were taken. And there were 100 and some students in the dual enrollment class. So now they're getting high